Hi everyone, it's Katie from Chords Records. The Highwomen have released a new album. So far it's only digital, but very exciting because it's a long album. It's got probably, 20 odd tracks on it. It's a live album, so I'm assuming it's going to be double if it comes out on vinyl at any point, but at the moment it's just digital. And this is to coincide with their appearance. They're performing live, extremely rare appearance. They do it maybe once every 3 or 4 years. This supergroup of women in the music business come together and perform live, and they're doing it at the Gorge in Washington State this weekend. Very exciting. It's part of a broader three day kind of Echoes in the Canyon music scenario that's put on by Brandi Carlile, Sheryl Crow, Bonnie Raitt, Winona Judd, Sarah Bareilles. A whole bunch of people are turning up. But the highlight for me is the Highwomen. I got to see them at this concert that this 2023 recording is from. I flew over from Australia. It was because there was Joni Mitchell was playing at the Gorge, and the next night the Highwomen were playing. And to this day, it is probably in my top 3 concerts I've ever seen. The joy emanating from the stage that night was palpable. The crowd had been there for 3 days, and it was just like this one big kind of hoedown. It was amazing. And the women independently are amazing. So let me tell you a bit about the story of the Highwomen. So, of course, they've only ever released one album. They got together sort of 6 or 7 years ago. What date was this? 2019. So that's 7 years ago. This album was released, and that's the only album up until yesterday that they'd ever released. It was a double album on Elektra, and it features 4 women. So it's essentially a supergroup, and it's based on, of course, the Highwaymen, the classic supergroup from the 70s and 80s. When was this one released? 1985, of Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, and Chris Christopherson. I mean, my goodness. And the classic song, We Are the Highwaymen. This is just such a stunning album, I have to say. I absolutely love it. So it's based on this kind of outlaw country of a super group of that outlaw country genre with these amazing singers of the time, and obviously they go way back. And these women got together. Now, who are they? So we have Brandi Carlile, who is she at the time she was a rising Americana, sort of indie folk, slightly pop singer. Has since emerged to be probably a lot bigger with her work with Joni Mitchell and Elton John. But she's very flamboyant and sort of, she skirts the sidelines of Americana, I would say, but can do country with the best of them and can yodel. Then you have Maren Morris, whose chops were born and in the Nashville scene. She arrived in Nashville and all she wanted to do was be a songwriter. And she did write songs, but very soon realized that she could put music out herself. And she had an amazing sort of debut album, huge success with My Church, and has gone on to release a few albums, and tours around. She's quite controversial and is not scared of speaking her mind. Very, very strong woman, which is not dissimilar to what the outlaw men are. These women are outlaw women. Then I'll talk about Natalie Hemby in a minute, but then you have Amanda Shires. So Amanda Shires, incredible songwriter and fiddle player, came up through very traditional sort of country music, and eventually played in a bunch of bands, eventually married Jason Isbell for a decade, and they divorced. Since actually this recording Live at the Gorge was done, So they divorced about 2 or 3 years ago. She's a really, really interesting artist. And then this one. So these three women are singers, songwriters, they're artists, they perform live all the time. And then we have this woman who's really interesting, Natalie Hemby. So Natalie Hemby is a songwriter. That is what she is. She was, she's been instrumental in Nashville in so many ways. She's written, The Gold Now for Casey Chambers. She's written a number of famous songs. For Lady Gaga, The Star Is Born, she wrote I'll Always Have This Way, or I'll Always Be This Way, whatever that famous song is from A Star Is Born with Lady Gaga. She wrote that. She's just Miranda Lambert, just an extraordinary songwriter. She's had 8 #1 hits on the country Billboard charts. So a really, really successful songwriter. But she can sing, and she can really sing. She matches these 3 vocalists who all are very strong vocalists and very unique in their own way, but really have vocal chops. Natalie can match them. And so Amanda Shires came up with the concept of the Highwomen and said, why don't we have a supergroup? Like, we're stronger together than apart. Country music's not supporting women. Let's try and put this supergroup together, which they did 7 years ago. And they really rushed it because they were able to talk Dolly Parton into performing live at their first live appearance at Newport Folk Festival. And so they kind of went, quick, let's get the band together, and Dolly Parton's agreed to sing with us. So go look up those YouTube performances. They're absolutely stunning. And that was where they kind of emerged onto the scene as this supergroup. And they've subsequently performed live maybe a handful of times, maybe 4 or 5. But the really incredible one was this Live at the Gorge 2023. Right. So I'll just go through the track list on this new album. It has nearly every song that was sung that night. The way they did it, because they'd only had one album, was they all agreed that they would sing the entire album, and then each would pick 2 other songs to sing, either of their own or covers, and then they kind of alternated this through this entire concert. For the most part, this album is the original music, but there are a couple of covers, so I'll just take you through it. So the Highwomen are those core 4 women. However, they consider themselves a movement, so they bring in other women when, to swap in if someone's not available, or and in fact, a couple of those women, Brittany Spencer and Yola, were actually on the original album. They sang either backing vocals, or they recorded a track that was later released on a different single. And one of those women is Brittany Spencer. And so this Live at the Gorge album kicks off with Redesigning Women, which was one of the singles off it was kind of the lead single off the album, and it features Brittany Spencer, and she was at the Gorge that day, so that was fantastic. And then it also then goes into the Highwomen, and Brittany Spencer has often sung one of the parts of the Highwomen. It goes through kind of the journey of these different women in each chorus. Then we go through Loose Change, My Name Can't Be Mama, Old Soul, Don't Call Me, If She Ever Leaves Me, Cocktail and a Song, Heaven is a Honky Tonk. They are all off the original album. Then we get to the first cover, and I remember on the night I cried when Amanda Shires talked about Bobby Nelson, Willie Nelson's sister, incredible piano player.
If we could play 2 of the songs that we would most like to play in front of this wonderful audience, what would they be? So, this was one of Shire's picks.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to say that this one's for the late and great Bobby Nelson, who was the first woman side person that I ever saw. And she made me think, I could be a musician too. And her story is amazing, but it's just really a tribute in a way to honor those who went through it first, whose shoulders that we stand on in the path that they widened, and hopefully we can do our best to continue all that together.
Yes, ma'am.
And Amanda Shires was a friend of hers before she passed away, and together they released this incredible album, Bobby Nelson and Amanda Shires, Loving You. Look at that beautiful photo of them. And it's on this album, it features Always on My Mind. So Bobby Nelson famously wrote that track that was made famous by her brother Willie Nelson. And this album, if you can still get it, you might not be able to get it, is so beautiful. It's very, very cheap on the secondary market, I'm sure. It was a little, just kind of a little labor of love, really, a little beautiful little tribute. And look at her on the back there, isn't she beautiful? On the live album, Live at the Gorge, the chords started and Amanda Shire started singing You're Always on My Mind, and I remember crying nearly all the way through it. It was such a beautiful rendition of that song. So you can pause this video and go listen to this entire album right now just for that. So that, we then come into the covers, and then we come to the next song, Radio Silence, which was a track of Natalie Hemby's album. She has occasionally released her own music, and this was an album she released not long after, in 2021, off the Highwomen, back of the Highwomen success, and released this song of her own material, Pins and Needles. It's a beautiful album, but it sort of never went anywhere, but it's a real treat of an album, and she's such a great songwriter. And that the song Radio Silence is off this album. And then we have the next track is probably one of my favorite performances of the night. And it's not my favorite because it's not included on this album, and I'll tell you at the end. But one of my favorite performances of the night was not a Highwomen track. It was an Elton John cover by Maren Morris, and she has talked about how much she loves this song, and it was kind of a fundamental song in her songwriting kind of coming up. She absolutely loved it, and she performs this song, Mona Lisa and Manhattans, off Hunky Chateau from the gorgeous early 70s. Hunky Chateau was 1972, of course, the gorgeous era of Elton John. And this song with Maren Morris's bluesy, she's got these kind of bluesy vocal chops and the harmonies of the four women. It has just sent it to a beautiful level. It's one of the better Elton John covers I've heard, because he's sort of hard to, he's quite unique in covering an Elton John song, because he's got such a unique vocal and his kind of unique kind of piano playing style. It's sort of hard to cover, but this cover by Maren is just second to none in my mind. I'm absolutely thrilled that it made it on there, and I'm surprised it did, and I'm sure it must have been the relationship between Brandy and Elton that he's gone, yeah, sure, go for it. Then we come back to My Only Child, which is a Highwomen song off the album, and then an all-time classic Waylon Jennings song, Mama, Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys, which was such a treat to hear them sing this beautiful song. This is one of my favorite albums, Wanted by the Outlaws. Fun fact about this album, it was one of the very first CDs ever made when this came out. And I think Mama Don't Let Your Babies leads it, or is it the second one? No, it leads it. It's such a great song, and their performance on this night was just a hoedown. It was so funny and so wonderful, and just as always throughout the night, the harmonies were beautiful, and that's what sets this live at the Gorge apart. They're all brilliant singers in their own right, and their ability to harmonize is just it's a joy to listen to, and it was beautifully recorded. So I think it could be a sleeper. Like, I hope they release it on vinyl. It's so wonderful. All right, and then we move down to kind of the last sort of, I would think, the fourth side of if it was a double album. We have The Bees, which is a beautiful song that Natalie Hemby wrote for Liam Womack, I think. And it is absolutely a simple, stripped down Natalie Hemby's pure tone voice singing The Bees, and then the harmonies come in really lovely. And then we have Tanya Tucker. Tanya Tucker was one of the guests at this 3-day sort of festival, and she comes in and she sings Delta Dawn. This is her famous track from when she was 17, and she's now sort of 70, and of course Brandi Carlile kind of was instrumental in kind of bringing her back, and she won her first Grammy off her album that Brandi Carlile produced. And this lovely album which she released off the back of that kind of comeback, Live at the Troubadour, was a real treat. And they all sing Delta Dawn featuring Tanya Tucker, and again it's such a joy bomb of a song. Then we move into My Church, which is Maren Morris's famous album. Maren Morris is an interesting artist. She's had her ups and downs as far as popularity goes, because she really speaks her mind. She's on a certain side of politics. And her latest album, Dreamsicle, is a beautiful album. It's a pop album. And in fact, it took me a while to find it because she was traditionally country, but she really moved into pop. And I went to see her when she was in Sydney recently. And while she still leans on her country roots, pop is her sort of genre. And this album is beautiful. If you get a chance to listen to it, it's not for everyone, but I think it's a really strong album, and it deserves more than I think than its success showed. She broke out in My Church, and that's a really good sing-along type of song. Then we move into The Chain, the famous Fleetwood Mac song, bringing back Brittany Spencer. That was the first single they released, and they never put it on the album, but they did release it as a digital single back in 2019. And of course, four female harmonies singing that song, Tight as Anything, and it's beautiful. And then their probably most famous song for the Highwomen is Crowded Table, and it is a great song, and that just gets the crowd going and everyone's singing. And that features Brittany Spencer and Alison Russell, so they're getting the entire kind of sort of broader Highwomen collective people together. Alison Russell had opened the weekend 3 days earlier, and she was still there. And another amazing independent artist that's been around forever, 10, 15 years, that has released 3 solo albums now under her own moniker. And she's an extraordinary artist as well, has spent some time on Broadway. So she came out with Brittany Spencer to sing Crowded Table. And then they finished the live album release with a encore of Redesigning Women, Alison Russell, Brittany Spencer, and the 4 women. And of course the Highwomen, the core Highwomen at the moment, it could change, are Maren Morris, Brandi Carlile, Natalie Hemby, and Amanda Shires. And so I told you what my favourite song from the Live at the Gorge was, and it went for 10 minutes, over 10 minutes, and it was Amanda Shires singing Bob Dylan's Hurricane without lyrics. She played all the fiddle solos. It was a stunning performance of this song. It floored everyone in the crowd. You could tell the people on the stage were just in awe of this performance. It's one of those great performances which may never see the light of day unless they release this on video, unless people have, sort of bootleg footage or copies of it. Amazing. So that's it. The Highwomen have released a new album, Live at the Gorge 2023, recorded live absolutely brilliant. Have a stream of it. You can get it on all the streaming services. And they've also got some merch, so buy a t-shirt. All right, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.